We are AD Studios and this is Assetto Corsa.
As we said last week, version 1 is upon us, and we've been trying this out, we've been throwing our cars around, we've been checking out all the new goodies, and we've brought a review here for you today, and we're going to tell you exactly what we like about version 1, what we don't like, and there are some things that we don't like, and we're also going to talk about what the future is going to hold for Assetto Corsa from what they have told us.
I'm pretty glad actually, because you know when rumours normally come out, they tend to have they tend to be rumours and sometimes they don't come true. Well, I think most of the time they don't come true, and we look like idiots, don't we? But I'm glad this time they've actually delivered.
Exactly.
And the game is out itself.
It's interesting that you say that, because if you think about what we said quite a few episodes ago about September, we said that it was going to be mid to end September. They're half a month off that, so that means that the initial rumours were pretty good. Yeah. And as promised, we've got the LaFerrari out in Spa, and we've pre-recorded this, so we've got a bit of driving, so we can talk about it and focus on the review itself instead of driving and holding the car in a straight line, which this car is quite difficult when you put your foot down on it.
Especially when you've caused a bit of damage to it, and keeping it straight. Yeah,
I mean,
more of a challenge.
We'll talk about the damage and exactly how it works, and we'll probably show you a few pictures of the damage overlaid on this video so you can see what goes on. But I think we'll start by actually talking about what they may have changed on the interface before you actually get into the actual simulator. So
I mean, generally that it's I would say 90% as to what it was before the actual before the release. But there's been a few changes. I mean, as you can see from the intro is much different now.
They've got an intro.
Yeah.
I mean, the first time the intro came up was that Mercedes SLS. Do you remember?
Yeah.
Do you remember that Mercedes SLS intro?
I think so, slightly.
Yeah.
Is it? And then they had the 4 windows.
Yeah.
And now it's 3, isn't it?
It's now 3 windows. So they've got opening video, which looks pretty good.
Yeah.
And then they've got those 4 blocks have gone to 3 blocks. So they've got rid of the UI themes and modding. Yeah. Because obviously everyone's figured out how to mod this game, and they don't need that block. I think they've got a main menu, and they've got special events, and then you've got the career, which seems to take up half the thing. So obviously they're trying to push that one.
But I don't know, with the intro going back, it's got some sort of it's got a Top Gear feel to it, I think.
It does, especially near the end where it's just flashing through the different.
Yeah. I think all we need now is Jeremy Clarkson and Captain Slow and
unfortunately they're licensed to Forza. They're licensed to Forza, so that's a problem. Having said that, you were talking about rumours. Interestingly enough, Project Cars, the other simulator that was supposed to be around, has actually been delayed until middle of next year now.
Oh, is it?
So it was supposed to be released, I believe, next month. Looks like that's actually been delayed.
I think Assetto Corsa can sort of hopefully now, raining all.
I just hope that Kunos don't actually take this as a opportunity for them to relax. Step back, because they may do that thinking that if they wanted it out Project Cars, and now it's delayed.
I think it might have the sort of the other way. I think
it might be the other way.
It might get them to work slightly more harder
to
release more DLCs.
I think it gives them more time to release more cars, more tracks, improve on the game.
And I think bring in the fan base that was originally on Project Cars.
Yeah, I think the loyal ones will stay there though.
Definitely.
I think so. I mean, the thing is about Project Cars and Assetto Corsa is Project Cars is more like Forza and sort of, I'd say, like Gran Turismo. It's simulation, but there is definitely a bit of an arcade aspect to it. Assetto Corsa doesn't seem to have that arcade aspect. Right, you can see right here, it doesn't have that arcade aspect. Let's move on from that, and let's just actually talk about a few things that they've changed in terms of how the simulator's set up. So they've got dynamic post-processing effects. Yeah. That's a bit of a tongue twister, isn't it, when you say that?
Right, another thing that's they should be improving in the next few updates should be the reflections.
Yeah, I mean the problem with the reflections right now is they have added these static reflections and everything, and it's really good, but it seems to have taken a bigger impact on the frames than I think they may have anticipated.
Yeah.
So there is a drop in FPS. I mean, things that it's not a massive drop, maybe about 10 FPS drop, but if for people who are marginal, who are getting maybe 60, now they're getting below. For those who are getting around 30, it's going to be a problem. It is definitely going to be a problem.
I think it really affects them.
And I think that's something maybe Kunos need to look at and sort of see, is there a way to improve that? Or is that just a byproduct of having improved everything?
Other things we can mention on the interface, the drive menu shows new cars coming soon. So it shows you the Toyota, Audi, Nissan, ROF, which is Porsche to me and you, the tuning company of Porsche. And another thing I like to mention is there's a few glitches as well with the LaFerrari. I think there's a color thing, isn't there? There's a few issues with
it's
the
not
colors.
just the
It's not-
LaFerrari,
yeah.
But it was when I was trying to pick the colors. I think there was like numerous reds, but they all gave the same color. I think one of the reds, it clearly did say red, but it gave me a black car.
Okay.
So there are a few glitches here and there. That's actually throughout the car selection. BMW, there seem to be a few glitches through that. There seem to be, but I think that's just because obviously on the release there's a few things that have mixed up or been broken.
I'm sure they'll be ironed out in the next few days or coming weeks even.
Yeah, I think so.
Well, the next update, won't it?
Exactly, yeah. Last thing about the interface that we talk about before we actually get onto the part that everyone's actually waiting for is the summary session. So most of them are the same for the summary, but in the realism settings they've added a few things. So you've got tyre blankets.
I like that.
So
I really
they
like
will
that.
preheat all tyres. Unfortunately, at the moment, all tyres will preheat exactly the same. They'll be 80 degrees Celsius. You've got the mechanical damage setting, which when you crank that up also affects the visual damage, which we'll talk about. And there's a new ABS setting called factory, which means that if the car came with ABS out of the factory, it'll be on. If it didn't, it'll be off. And there's a slipstream effect multiplier. It's not something I've tested, but I'm presuming that will be obviously drafting a car, slipstreaming a car. It'll give you an aerodynamic increase.
I think we'll probably show that in the next few videos.
Yeah, I think we'll do another AI video.
Yeah, and
do
it
a
shows
race,
you that up, well, when we're racing.
Yeah, exactly.
Now onto the LaFerrari. Well, it's a 6.3 litre V12 engine producing 790 brake horsepower with an electric motor, producing an additional 160 brake horsepower. And it's got a 7-speed dual clutch. What else has it got?
Well, I
Dual
think,
clutch is a gearbox.
Yeah, obviously.
I think in layman's terms, it's a hybrid.
Yeah.
But it's an interesting hybrid.
Oh yeah.
It's a very interesting hybrid, and the really odd thing about it is it does work in Assetto Corsa exactly as it should. So you've got KERS, or as the Ferrari call it, high KERS. So it's hybrid KERS. I don't know really what.
Yeah.
But they call it high KERS, and it's very similar to KERS that you find in Formula 1. So you press a button and it gives you an additional short boost of power.
Yeah.
You've got the system that when you're braking, the electric motors, as we were mentioning in the last episode, how the electric motors will then spool up, and the tractive force will recharge the batteries, and then on the exit, it will turn that into additional power, giving you the full 950 brake horsepower that you get. All of that actually works in Assetto Corsa. We have tried it, and you can probably see on the video. You see there's a blue bar on the side that's going up and down, and that's actually the tractive force and the electric power. And you'll also see that there's a green bar on the right hand side of the HUD, and you'll see that green bar is actually the battery power. So if we were to blow the engine, and that can be done, and we have done it, if you were to blow the engine, you'd be running only on that electric power, and when that ran out of juice, you just stop.
Yeah.
I mean, going back to the LaFerrari and now the hybrid, what I find interesting now is now that LaFerrari, well, Ferrari even, have gone into the hybrid area.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be sort of more popular now, and I think a lot of other car manufacturers will probably take it one step above. I mean, we know Toyota and Nissan and the rest of them have been doing hybrids for a few years now.
Yeah.
But I think now that Ferrari and even BMW, the i8, have now entered the mix.
Exactly. And
I
you've got
think
McLaren
that-
with the P1.
Yeah, exactly. And I think
Porsche as well, isn't it?
918.
yeah, I think now we might even see the hybrid sort of takeoff might be sort of too much, but just put it out
It's
there.
getting out there
Yeah.
because it's a combination of the engine and the hybrid. It's not just a fully hybrid car, isn't it?
I think it's more fashionable. Can we say?
I'd say it's more fashionable than an electric car, that's for sure.
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind having a hybrid car.
Yeah.
I mean, if I had a choice between a hybrid, electric, and petrol, it would be petrol first, then hybrid,
Hybrid.
then
Yeah,
electric.
definitely.
And then I'd probably walk.
Yeah.
Depending on the electric car.
Yeah.
But generally, I'm not a fan of electric cars at all. And there is an electric car mod available for this. Not sure if we'll test that one. It's a Tesla. But
I
the
think
fact that it works in here,
If it's a Tesla, we might be interested.
it
Just
might
Tesla's
be
okay,
interesting
yeah.
because now that they've got this hybrid system working in Assetto Corsa for this, it may make that Tesla a lot more realistic.
I mean, we could spare a few minutes in one of our videos, the upcoming videos.
I think we
just
should.
show what it does.
Yeah,
I
we
mean,
might test
I mean,
it
this is sort of going away from the game, but I'm just. I mean, I was thinking about the hybrid thing. I thought, it's never going to take off, and all of a sudden, Ferrari, McLaren, and now BMW. And
It's really odd though. I tell you what's really odd is that Ferrari and McLaren and Porsche, they've done something really interesting with this hybrid. The hybrid's supposed to be to sort of get people to embrace electric technology and slow people down and
50-50,
carbon.
isn't it? But I think it's
what
more 80-20
these lot have done
yeah.
is they've got this hybrid technology and used it to give you more power.
Yeah.
That's not what hybrid was designed to do.
But then again, Toyota, I think they use it. Was it on a 50-50 basis?
I don't know how Toyota use it, but I don't like it.
Are you talking about the Prius?
Yep.
The one that everyone hates?
I'm assuming.
Prius, whatever you guys call it.
I think it's more of it, and I think BMW, I mean, you can see from the BHP, it's 790, and the electric motor is 160, so I'm assuming it's not 50-50 anyway.
No way.
And I think it's the same for the i8. So, I mean, it's a start.
But to be honest, isn't the McLaren like that? It's also on
yeah.
an 80-20 basis.
It is.
Roughly, I mean,
And apparently it's supposed to be really good on fuel.
Yeah, something like 16 miles per gallon. 40 miles per gallon,
Which is
in
crazy.
a hypercar. I wonder if the Ferrari does that. Oop, did a bit of right. Okay, what we can move on to now is let's talk a bit about the F mod.
Yeah.
Talking about the actual.
That's
sound.
something I'll always criticize.
You can hear it in the video, but we'll actually talk a bit about the sounds, not just the Ferrari itself, but we'll talk about the general sound. So
Yeah.
I'll leave you to talk about that.
Well, let's just say the first time I heard LaFerrari, it was a low roar, and you can hear the rumble, and that's something F-Mod I think really introduced to the game with all the cars. To be honest, not just LaFerrari. I did test out the Alfa Romeo as well, and that had a low rumble to it as well. But anyways, back to LaFerrari. I think throughout all the ranges, the sounds are good. Although I'd probably say it needs more work on. What do you think?
Yeah, I think so. There's slight work that needs. We've tested out a lot of cars, and I think the car that had the best sound, I really think is spot on.
The Z4
is
GT3.
the Z4 GT3.
Yeah,
exactly.
Definitely.
The weirdest sound, it's not bad, but the weirdest sound was the Ferrari 458 GT2, which is odd because I would have thought, being a new car, that would be another one with accurate sound, like this LaFerrari.
Yeah.
It had more of an electric sound, didn't it?
It did sound a bit teeny. So
It didn't really sound like a Ferrari, to be honest. That's what I think.
Well, it sounded like a GT2 car, but not like that particular GT2
Yeah.
car. But I think they need to work on it. And the developers have mentioned that they need to work a bit on these, on this car and see what we can get. That's pretty much the sounds covered. I think we can talk about damage. We'll show up a few pictures of damage as well of that Z4, since we couldn't bring ourselves to damage this car.
Yeah, I've got a few gripes with it. I mean, you can see the physical damage.
Yeah.
I mean, mechanical damage is fair enough. I mean, when you shift from fifth to first,
You're
you're
blowing
blowing engine. That's fine. I can understand
And
that.
the suspension damage is absolutely phenomenal.
Exactly.
Even the tyre damage. I actually flat spotted some tyres yesterday. While flat spotting the tyres, I started feeling an actual vibration in the wheel as the car was vibrating, so it's really good.
Yeah. I mean, going back to the gripe I've got with the physical damage, is they've got, 4 areas. Minus the tyres and suspension. They've got 4 sides. Front, back, left, right. Now, if you hit the left-hand side, it sort of damages the whole left-hand side.
Yeah.
Again, with the front, I mean, even if you sort of hit it at a certain angle, you get damage across the whole bumper.
So it's not sort of procedurally generated, it's just standard static damage models.
I mean, what I'd like to see is each area broken down. So, into, for example, left-hand side, 3 segments, or the front bumper, have it broken down to 3 segments. So if you hit an angle, only that certain area gets...
Yeah. It doesn't have to be real time,
No,
but if it's more split up, so that it looks a lot more convincing.
Exactly.
Yeah, so if you hit the left side, let the left side of a bumper be damaged and the front part of a... side be damaged.
not the whole left side.
Exactly.
Yeah, which I think at the moment, I mean, the window cracking as well, I found that are a bit, I don't know, I mean,
it did take pretty high-speed impacts, though, to do that.
I know, but still, the way that it was cracking, it wasn't...
It looked too dramatic, didn't it? That's why I think.
It wasn't impressive, I think. I think that's my only gripe.
Yeah.
Not criticising, just saying work to be done.
Definitely work to be done.
Definitely.
I think I agree with that. It's a nice step, though. It is a nice step, but there is definitely some work to be done. I think splitting it further would definitely, sort it all out.
What else?
I think
the dirt marks on the cars, they're
much improved.
Yeah.
Much improved. It looks really good, the dirt now. The cars get properly dirty. The other things that I think that are improved generally, the actual frames overall were improved.
Yeah.
The gameplay is a lot smoother, and the handling. Gosh, the physics now.
Physics have been improved on all the cars, isn't it?
All cars throughout the board, they've had improvements in physics. Now, it's not huge improvements because we already knew it was great on physics, but they've just touched those things up. You know, the curb effects, they've touched up suspension, and when you damage your car, again, it's relating back to damage. When you do the mechanical damage to your car, You feel it.
Yeah.
I mean, at one point, I had my wheel 90 degrees to the right, trying to actually keep the car in a straight line because I'd actually bent a wheel. So all that stuff, and I think that's really important because if you're driving in a Assetto Corsa and you're racing, you want to have that realism feeling, and you want to sort of be careful. You don't want to just throw around the car. I mean, obviously, it's never going to be like real life because it's not money, and you're not going to get physically injured.
Yeah.
The worst you could do, if you have a steering wheel, the worst you could do is break a thumb if something goes horribly wrong.
Yeah.
Or pull a muscle. That's all you could really do. While in real life, you could get seriously hurt and waste a lot of money. So there's that aspect that will never be caught. But I think they've tried to catch as much of the aspects as they can.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty much what we see of version 1 right now. We'll keep looking at this, and in future videos, what we see.
Yeah, I think that now, because it's the version 1, and I think a lot of people will say, "Oh, can we have this? Can we have this? Can we have this?"
Yeah.
I think there'll be a lot of updates, maybe sort of micro updates, and rather than a big.
Well, there's
one.
already been one. I mean, this was version 1.00. It's now 1.03.
Yeah, I
so
think
there's been a small
a
update.
micro updates.
Yeah.
I mean, and I think there'll be quite a few of them in the next month or so, just so they can iron out all these little issues with the game. So, I mean, hopefully, in a few months' time, I think we'll have the final. I mean, this is the final, but I mean,
we'll just get more and more.
Yeah.
I tell you what, I'm disappointed in though. I think as a final point to really finish this, I'm disappointed. The flag system is still not implemented.
yeah,
I think that's important for racing. Because
Yeah.
racing, you're going to have people spinning out. You need yellow flags, blue flags, black flags. You need all of that. Even though they've done the whole validation, that the car has to be legal to drive in that specific class, they need to have the flags, because if you damage your car really badly, they need to black flag you. It's something. Maybe that'll come in when they add the pit stops in for the AI.
okay, yeah. I mean, that's something to look forward to. I think career mode.
Career mode, I think what we'll do is we'll start a separate series
Yeah,
on that.
I think we'll
have a
start-
look. At the moment, there isn't much. I looked into it, and there seems to be like five laps here and there.
Okay.
Because the AI obviously can't pit at the moment.
Yeah.
I'm presuming they'll expand upon that. So I'll wait a little while. I want to hold off on career mode, and then we'll start a series taking her through the whole career mode and seeing what it's like.
Fine.
I think what we'll do is we'll just leave it here. We'll let you enjoy the sounds of this LaFerrari, which really does sound good. And we'll see you next week. Please don't forget to leave a comment in our comments block, subscribe to our channel, and hit the like button on this video. We'll see you next time.